Hello everyone, it's Laffy Traffy. A wild theory video has appeared. There is a lot to talk about the most recent chapter of One Piece, chapter 1014. Spoiler alert now, if you haven't read it yet, go read it. Oh geez, there's a cat. If you haven't read the chapter yet, oh geez. Anyway, as I was saying, if you haven't read chapter 1014, the most recent chapter of One Piece, go ahead and go do that now, because I will be spoiling for that chapter. But once you're done, come back and let's talk. Specifically today, we will be talking about JoyBoy and how it pertains to Luffy. I don't usually have the time to make extra videos in between chapter reviews and Attack on Titan and everything else, but I just felt like this was too important, too immediate after the last chapter that I couldn't wait to talk about it. So here you go, a special little extra video to tide you over before the chapter releases this Friday, because there's not a break. So first, let's talk about the last chapter specifically. There wasn't much that happened revolving around JoyBoy. It was really just one panel, but Luffy is currently falling and plummeting off Onigashima, and as we see, into the water. He did not land on land. There's no one to catch him out of the air except the water, and he is currently sinking. Who will save him? What will happen? I'm sure he's gonna be fine, you know, he's Luffy, but the method in which he will be saved is going to be interesting. Will there be a Sea King? I'm not sure if the residents of Wano will be able to save him, so it's just a matter of finding out who. Maybe it'll be the octopus, maybe it'll be Law's submarine, who knows? But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about what Kaido said as Luffy falls, and he looks disappointed as he says, "It seems you couldn't be JoyBoy either." And as classic One Piece does, this one sentence, these 7 words, "You couldn't be JoyBoy either, it seems." 7. These 7 words spring off so many possible paths ahead that we have to talk about it. And it's still vague enough that we're not for sure confirmed either way about what JoyBoy's role is, what Kaido knows about him, especially how Kaido knows about him, or Luffy's place with JoyBoy. But we have to talk about the context. The context of Kaido denying Luffy couldn't be JoyBoy is Luffy is dead. I'm more hung up on the fact that Kaido really thinks Luffy's defeated. I mean, I know he doesn't know everything that there is to know about Luffy like us readers do, and that the Straw Hats know, and the allies, but it just seems odd that Kaido would so quickly pronounce Luffy dead. Defeated is one thing, but if we're following along the lines of this incoming theory I'm about to talk about, we have to assume that Kaido thinks that Luffy is dead, and that's the only reason why he says that he couldn't be JoyBoy. There is the possibility that there's some other reason that Kaido is saying that Luffy couldn't be JoyBoy either, and then following down that path, that would entail that Luffy truly isn't JoyBoy. That there's another reason why Kaido said that, and Kaido wasn't lying, or, you know, swayed by his own personal experience with Luffy. But we're not going to go down that path. We're going to go down the path that Luffy seemed to check off a lot of boxes in Kaido's head to fulfilling the role of JoyBoy. The number one reason to me that Kaido said that Luffy couldn't be JoyBoy is, like I said, because in Kaido's eyes, Luffy is dead, and JoyBoy, or whoever's holding the title of JoyBoy, can't die. At least not before the prophecy is fulfilled and a new dawn is brought in through the world. And Kaido even speculating that Luffy can be titled JoyBoy, to me clearly indicates that JoyBoy, while he was a person back in the Void Century, it was just a title. It wasn't the person's name, it was purely a title. You could also look at it like maybe that JoyBoy in the past, his name was JoyBoy, and then he was the starter of the predecessor, and then whoever sought out the completion of his will after him was just titled JoyBoy after the original JoyBoy. But that's kind of semantics, and either way it gets across the same idea that currently in the story, the title JoyBoy is merely a title, it's not actually a person. There is a theory that perhaps JoyBoy having a place in the current story is that the actual JoyBoy, the individual who held that title way back in the Void Century, who's been referenced in the Poneglyphs and wrote the apology note, that person will be sent forward in the future. With the devil fruit that we now have been confirmed exists with Toki, that's not really out of the realm of possibility. There could be some other devil fruit, there could be an awakening form of the Toki no Mi where she can somehow have rippling effects even after she's passed away, or if she's even passed away. Maybe she has the ability to bring people from the past to the present. That's a lot of speculation though, and I don't really follow it enough to hold it as a solid theory, so I'm gonna go with just the title is passed down through the generations. Now the question is, how many JoyBoys have there been? This might be the second ever JoyBoy to exist, whoever holds it now. We're gonna go with Luffy for this video, but whoever that could be, whether it be Momo, Vivi, there's a bunch of different possibilities and ideas of who could be the JoyBoy now. But regardless, whoever you think is JoyBoy right now, the point is that this might be the first reincarnation of JoyBoy. Maybe that JoyBoy back in the Void Century was the first one. And there seems to be a lot of supporting evidence for that because his name is in the Poneglyphs and he was a very important person. If he wasn't the first one, then that adds a whole lot of information and mysteries to the timeline of One Piece itself, that if that JoyBoy wasn't the first one, then how far does their history go? How long has this prophecy been a thing? But yeah, this might be the only second ever JoyBoy. Perhaps there was the JoyBoy who was kind of created in a sense to write the Poneglyphs and kind of freeze frame the world so that it doesn't get completely destroyed, and that was trying to save the world back then, but they failed. And so now there hasn't really been an opportunity to take back the world from the world government, whoever it is that JoyBoy is directly against, all of the above probably. Now that there is opportunity with the One Piece and the reincarnation of Shirahoshi as Poseidon as well, maybe this is where JoyBoy comes back. And so there's only ever two. The lore behind Poseidon is that every few generations, I think they said, a mermaid princess will be born to have the title of Poseidon. That also kind of makes it up in the air as to how many Poseidons there could have been given the 800 years and whatnot. I mean, there could have been a few, but the frequency of Poseidon might not relate directly to the frequency of whoever holds the title of JoyBoy. If this is the first time that JoyBoy has been brought back into the world because now there's a fighting chance of everything coming together with the ancient weapons and everything, maybe this is the only time that JoyBoy had a chance, and so now JoyBoy is coming out of history in this sense, and someone will gain that title, and now just coincidentally whoever Poseidon was at that time, who is Shirahoshi, now they get to combine their powers of the prophecy and the ancient weapons and everything else that's going on to actually bring the new dawn in. Ow. And personally, I really like that idea that there haven't been a bunch of JoyBoys recently, because there's a theory that Roger was also a JoyBoy, but I think that that title, whoever gives it, you know, like it's hard to say that the title of JoyBoy is given. I think it's just a matter of who completes the prophecy, who is able to succeed. So Roger was definitely a contender, but it wouldn't have been until he succeeded in freeing the world of the clutches of the evils that be that he would be labeled JoyBoy. So it's not that Roger was JoyBoy and then passed on, it's more that he never got the chance to claim the title as JoyBoy. Does that make sense? Whereas Luffy, again, important figure, and he's definitely carrying on Roger's will, an important figure going after the world government and speaking of freedom and the dawn. Everyone, Kaido, is like, oh, maybe he is JoyBoy, you know? He's actually has the potential, he's checking off these boxes. He has what it takes to be JoyBoy. So, excluding this moment in which he is falling into the sea, he can actually do it. So once he brings in the dawn, he will officially have the title of JoyBoy. But it all depends on what role JoyBoy is destined to fill, because there are theories, as I mentioned, that Vivi could be JoyBoy, because there was that scene with Im at the Reverie when he had the posters. He had Blackbeard's, Vivi's, Luffy's, and Shirahoshi's. He specifically left Vivi's whole, so I feel like she is the light that he's seeking to extinguish because she's been such a prominent figure in politics and she's a new leader. Cobra probably knows too much and they're, you know, the traitor world government, celestial dragon kingdoms and stuff like that. So I feel like that's why Vivi has not been cut up. It's because he was taking her poster to the Gorosei. It's interesting why Blackbeard was cut up. Shirahoshi and Luffy were cut up as well. And just comparing it to Vivi, Shirahoshi is confirmed to be an ancient weapon. Luffy might be the biggest contender to be JoyBoy. Maybe Blackbeard was a contender to be JoyBoy in Im's eyes, which that's pretty valid because Blackbeard has been making a big stink since Marineford and everything, and he's kind of seeking to take over the world in his own way too, so maybe Im is just seeing Blackbeard as another potential JoyBoy. And so with this connection with Luffy and Shirahoshi, I think it's clear that Vivi is something different. I don't think she's JoyBoy, although that would be pretty cool. Because, again, Vivi's a really cool character, and she's very prominent, coming into herself as a princess, and soon to be the queen, all these things, but I just don't think that she's going to be JoyBoy. She's definitely going to play a role, just not JoyBoy. And then there's a theory that Momo could be JoyBoy, which that, again, falls to what role JoyBoy is to fulfill, because Vivi is a prominent leader who supports Luffy and has a lot of sway politically. Momo, if he becomes shogun successfully, which, spoiler alert, he will play the role of a prominent political figure with the power and want to support Luffy. So I think that's Momo's place in the future, as well as Vivi's. So they're just the prominent leaders who will be able to kind of rally their own people and their countries and the support towards the JoyBoy, Luffy. But coming back around to Luffy being JoyBoy, it's almost too obvious that I would be okay with Luffy actually ending up being JoyBoy. At the end of the day, it's still a shonen, and the main character is going to have an extremely important role, probably involving a prophecy. But that doesn't take away from his character. At least in the way that I'm viewing it, is that the title of JoyBoy only gets placed on someone's shoulders after they've succeeded. Does that make sense? Like, people can think that there's a lot of potential JoyBoys, and there are a lot of potential JoyBoys, like Blackbeard, Roger, maybe even Odin, but at the end of the day, none of them were able to actually fulfill it, and so they never got the title of JoyBoy. It's not that Luffy was born to be JoyBoy. If it was like that, then maybe that would be a little bit, convenient shonen. He was born to be the prophecy fulfiller, but no, it's more of just, there's a lot of potential, and then Luffy will just be who he is. It doesn't change his character. He's still the guy who wants to be king of the pirates, wants to be the freest person in the world, and by extension will probably be the one to lead against the world government because of all the wrongdoings that they do. And then once he finds the One Piece, Roger was too early, so he was like this close. He was this close to being JoyBoy because we assume that it has to do with the ancient weapons. That's a whole nother video in and of itself. But Poseidon wasn't born yet, and who knows the status of the rest of the ancient weapons. But assuming that Poseidon, Shirahoshi, was the variable that held Roger back from fulfilling the prophecy of JoyBoy, now she does exist. Now she is grown, and she's able to fulfill her role. So now Luffy, when he finds Raftel, or Laftel, force a habit, we will see him fulfill the prophecy and he will be JoyBoy. I feel like I've just been talking in circles, but I just wanted to get the point across that he's not born into this special role. It's just that Luffy's going to do his journey, whatever that may be. There's no predestination shit, you know, he still has his own free will because, God, if you put Luffy into a prophecy where he was always destined to do this one thing, there's the conversation of, well then, did Luffy ever have free will of his own? And maybe that's the reason that a lot of people have problems with Luffy being JoyBoy, because it takes away from Luffy's free will. But if Luffy's just going down his journey and, you know, if he just wants to take out the world government because they're holding people back and causing a lot of strife, to say the least, then he does. And then when he succeeds, people will look, Kaido will look like, oh, nope. He was JoyBoy. He is titled JoyBoy because he led the world into the dawn successfully like no one could before him, ever since the world was cast into this darkness from the original JoyBoy. I just really like looking at JoyBoy in that perspective because it's a lot more freeing for Luffy's character, and it makes a lot of sense, and once we find out later on that he was able to fulfill JoyBoy's prophecy, it kind of makes it almost more special that he wasn't born to fulfill the prophecy. He just did it anyway because that's who he was as a person. I think that adds a lot to Luffy's character rather than diminishing it. Now, going all the way back to the events of the chapter specifically, what I really want to know is, what does Kaido know about JoyBoy and the Void Sentry and all of this stuff? Because I'll say that this information that Kaido is pointing out and talking about, he knows a lot more than I thought he did. Does Big Mom know this? Did they learn this on the Rocks crew? They were sailing around for a long time, so there could have been, I mentioned in my review, there could have been a member of Ohara on their crew, or someone who could have been reading poneglyphs, someone of the Kazuki clan maybe. Who knows? So that's really interesting to think about how much the Rocks crew and all of the remnants too. There's Whitebeard, how much did he know? Because he and Roger talked about a lot of things, at least for the Will of D, which how does that play into JoyBoy? Then we got Shiki and Shaki and the rest of them. All these people are possibly still alive. Oh, I mean, besides Whitebeard. But the other few, you know, where Shiki, Shaki, I don't remember if that's actually canon that Shaki is on the Rocks Pirates, but it's canon for me, so if it's not, you're wrong. But the other way that Kaido might have been able to know this is that maybe he just knew it while he's become an emperor. Maybe the JoyBoy has been spoken hush-hush tones in different circles, and with Kaido's influence, he might have been able to hear that. That wouldn't be as cool though. I think it's much more cool that he does know for sure what's going on, none of the rumors that he happenstance by, that he actually knows what the prophecy is, what the Void Sentry entailed, at least maybe the gist of it, and that he found out through the Rocks crew. Maybe not the entire Void Sentry, but, you know, bits and pieces, like Poseidon as an ancient weapon, and JoyBoy as maybe another ancient weapon. No, I don't think so. All of this coalesces into, to me, the fact that Kaido here almost for sure confirmed Luffy is JoyBoy. Or at least can be, if we're going by my perspective. Because Kaido had a reason to believe that Luffy was JoyBoy. He's not just talking out of his ass, he knows what he's talking about. We gotta give him that. He's a Yonko, he's been around forever. He's a smart guy, he's not just a fish boy, you know? So he knows what he's talking about, and he was pretty convinced himself that Luffy was JoyBoy. But now Luffy's dead, so well, I guess he couldn't be JoyBoy either. But he's not dead, so Luffy's JoyBoy. That's what this is all about. But we'll just have to wait for next chapter to see for sure. I doubt that JoyBoy will really be mentioned next chapter. This is probably just one of those things, little sprinkle of information and lore that Oda likes to spread throughout the story, and we probably won't get confirmation one way or the other as to what JoyBoy is anytime soon. If there is, then hell yeah. But if you liked anything that I had to say in this video and you made it this far, make sure you leave a like, comment below what you are thinking about Luffy being JoyBoy. Was JoyBoy just a person? Is he coming into the future physically to aid Luffy and his allies into the dawn? Or is it just a title? Has there been multiple JoyBoys? Was Roger JoyBoy too? Was Odin JoyBoy? So many. Or do you think that Luffy was born to be JoyBoy as a prophetic savior and he will do what it is he needs to do to bring in the dawn? Let me know. I like to hear what you have to say. With that all said, check me out on Twitch and Twitter for more anime and One Piece and gaming content. I will be streaming my first ever live reaction to Chapter 1015 over on Twitch at noon Eastern Standard Time. So go follow me over there if you don't want to miss it. I will be uploading to YouTube as well, so you don't have to worry. But yeah, that concludes this Luffy is JoyBoy confirmed theory that I had just had to get out, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope I pointed out some different ideas. If you've been thinking exactly what I've been thinking this whole time and you've known this for months, let me know down below so I know I'm not alone. But again, and as always, have a great day, follow your dreams, and check me next time. Bye!